Welcome to the invisible premise. Every argument rests on assumptions. In this series, we'll identify those hidden premises and examine whether they truly support the conclusions being claimed. Today's invisible premise hides inside one of the most common arguments you'll hear in debates about God and morality. It sounds convincing at first, but only because two completely different ideas are being treated as though they're the same. Those ideas are necessary conditions and sufficient conditions. Many of the popular YouTube atheists hold this position. Atheists can be moral people. Therefore, God isn't necessary for morality. At first glance, that seems reasonable. After all, Christians know honest atheists. We know atheists who love their families, help their neighbors, donate to charity, and risk their lives for others. Biblical Christianity has never taught that only Christians can perform acts of kindness. In fact, Scripture explains why this shouldn't surprise us at all. Romans teaches that God's moral law is written on the human heart. People are made in God's image. Even though humanity is fallen, people still possess a moral awareness that reflects their Creator. So if Christians already agree that atheists can perform moral actions, why does this debate continue? Because the discussion quietly changes the subject. Instead of asking, what makes morality objectively true, the conversation becomes, can atheists behave morally? Those are not the same question. This is where necessary and sufficient conditions become important. A necessary condition is something that must exist for something else to be ultimately true. A sufficient condition is something that by itself guarantees the result. Here's an example. Fuel is necessary for most automobiles to operate, but fuel alone is not sufficient. You also need an engine, ignition, and many other components. If someone said, fuel alone doesn't make a car run, therefore fuel isn't necessary, we'd immediately recognize the mistake. The same confusion often appears in discussions about morality. Christians are not claiming that believing in God is necessary for telling the truth, loving your children, or helping someone in need. The Christian claim is much deeper. The question is this: what makes moral obligations objectively binding? If murder is it wrong because most people dislike it? Or is it wrong even if an entire society approves of it? If slavery is evil, was it evil before governments outlawed it? Or did it suddenly become wrong only after public opinion changed? Most people recognize that some actions are objectively wrong, regardless of culture, majority vote, or personal preference. The Christian worldview explains why. According to biblical Christianity, objective moral values are grounded in God's perfectly good nature. Moral obligations exist because there is a personal, holy, and righteous lawgiver whose character defines what goodness is. Notice the distinction. God's existence is presented as a necessary condition for objective morality. But believing in God is not presented as a sufficient condition for living a moral life. Someone may believe in God and still behave wickedly. That doesn't disprove God's existence. It only shows that people fail to live consistently with what they know. Likewise, an atheist may deny God while still recognizing and practicing many objective moral truths. That doesn't remove the need for a foundation. It simply shows that recognizing a truth and explaining why that truth exists are two different questions. Think about a handwritten letter. You can understand every sentence without ever meeting the author. You can even deny an author exists. But your ability to read the message doesn't explain where the message came from. The same applies to morality. An atheist can recognize moral duties. The real question is what makes those duties objectively real. This is why Christians often say the atheist objection misses the point. The debate isn't over whether atheists can be good neighbors. The debate is whether objective moral obligations can exist without God. One question concerns behavior. The other concerns foundation. Those are entirely different discussions. So the next time someone says, atheists can be moral, therefore God isn't necessary, consider asking a simple question. Are we discussing whether people can recognize moral truths, or what makes those moral truths objectively true in the first place? That single question uncovers the invisible premise. Recognizing morality is one issue. Grounding morality is another. Confusing necessary conditions with sufficient conditions doesn't answer the Christian argument. It changes the subject. Thank you for watching. Before accepting any conclusion, ask one question. What is the invisible premise? We'll see you in the next episode.